I can't stand Ice Cube.
That's crazy.
I'm not a fan of him lyrically or acting wise.
Really?
Put hands on you, give you real black eyes. Come on, don't do that. And that's the truth. I mean, I've had about
Yeah.
He said nothing else.
Is he a comedian? Because he ain't never made me laugh, so I don't know if he...
After comedian Aries Spears was scolded by 50 Cent for disparaging West Coast icon Ice Cube, tensions in the entertainment industry suddenly erupted. This has now escalated into a full-fledged conflict as Aries has fired back.
I can't stand Ice Cube.
That's crazy.
I'm not a fan of him lyrically or acting wise.
Really?
He's the same.
How much time we got left here? Because should I just tell him to leave now?
It all began when Spears attacked Cubs' legacy on a podcast, claiming the rapper-turned-business magnate was overhyped and more Hollywood than hip-hop. 50 Cent refused to accept it. Ice Cube paved the way for all of us, he stated in a critical Instagram post.
You don't think that...
One of the songs I hate the most, if it comes on, I want to shoot the radio. Today was a good day.
You cannot act like a pioneer simply because your name is no longer ringing. In an attempt to be relevant, he even included a cruel remark, labeling Aries a washed-up comedian. During his own live stream, Aries Spears responded within hours, accusing 50 of riding coattails and claiming that the criticism was an emotional exaggeration.
John Chung did a great joke. He goes, here's Ice Cube as a gynecologist. Hey, Miss Jenkins, I looked at your...
He intensified his criticism of Cubs' transformation from street rapper to family-friendly movie star, claiming he was only expressing his viewpoint. Supporters are divided. While some support Aries' right to voice his opinions, others defend Cubs' legacy. However, one thing is evident. It rarely ends once 50 gets involved in a fight. Silently. And this one is only getting hotter as both sides are doubling down. The same musician who penned one of the worst diss tracks in hip-hop history, No Vaseline, Ice Cube, takes a break from his multi-billion-dollar business endeavors to reply. It conveys the gravity of the situation.
I'm the poster child for the world's biggest hater. If you look up the word hate, it's my picture. When did we get to a point where unless your opinion, and last time I checked as human beings, we're all allowed to opinions. At what point does it get to where unless your opinion is favorable about a person or a thing and goes with the flow of everyone else, you're a hater? I don't understand it.
The comedian Aries Spears wasn't merely making light of Ice Cube. During his visit to Big Boy's neighborhood, he unleashed a full-fledged verbal onslaught, attacking Ice Cube's acting, his discography, and even his cultural legacy in general. As an actor and rapper, Spears called Ice Cube garbage. The comments were not ignored. In a swift reply, Ice Cube called Spears unfunny, irrelevant, and not at all on par with other black comedians. It might have been over then. However, 50 Cent then came up in the discussion. Known for making fun of people who were already being attacked, 50 was powerless to stop it. The whole moment resulted from what was intended to be a casual conversation. Big Boy brought up the subject of rapper rankings, which is frequently debated in barber shops. Aries Spears, however, deviated from the plan. Spears didn't hesitate. When Ice Cube's name was mentioned, he immediately began to criticize, and that was just the start. He then made fun of It Was a Good Day, which is considered to be one of the most famous West Coast songs ever. Aries Spears wasn't going to back down, not even when Big Boy's co-host tried to change the subject in an attempt to lighten the mood. Rather, he went all out with a bizarre Ice impression that as a gynecologist Cube. One sentence concluded with such an odd line that it made the whole table stand still. The room didn't follow Aries as he chuckled at his own joke. The co-host said nothing. Big Boy tried again to bring the discussion back to a neutral topic, but Aries persisted. He wasn't done yet. Shortly after, he verbally insulted Tupac Shakur, which intensified the situation. By then, it was more than a personal assault on artists. It evolved into a more general insult to the hip-hop heritage of the entire West Coast. In a field where honoring legends is a cornerstone, this action was viewed as going too far. Aries Spears was well aware of his actions. He even acknowledged the commotion he was causing by looking straight into the camera at one point. The reaction was quick. "I appreciate Aries' talent, but the Ice Cube disrespect is going too far," one listener said. According to another observer, this is why Aries loses credibility, calling out legends like Pac or Cube its bitterness from the East after the West took over in the 80s and 90s. However, Spears probably didn't expect the very legends he chastised to remain silent. Usually well-known figures overlook minor disputes, but this time everything changed when they decided to answer straight. However, things were different this time. With the cool accuracy of someone who has seen it all before, Ice Cube gave a precise response. He didn't add to the drama or raise his voice. Rather, he questioned Aries Spears' status as a cultural figure as well as a comedian. Cube questioned whether Aries had ever really merited a place at the table and if he was even relevant in the current black comedy scene. This was more than just self-protection. Ice Cube targeted Aries Spears and deliberately undermined his career legitimacy by using his history of writing rhymes for Nua, creating one of the most famous diss tracks in hip-hop. Ice Cube reminded the world of the money he stacked across entertainment and sports by creating the Friday franchise and starting the Big Three basketball league. However, Aries Spears refused to back down despite public criticism from both fans and industry insiders. Instead, he escalated. He doubled down on his remarks, taking his message to Vlad TV, where he reiterated the same accusations and showed no remorse for his stance. Making fun of Ice Cube was audacious at first, but once the fallout became almost reckless, he did it again. Aries overlooked the fact that this was about more than just Ice Cube, because somewhere 50 Cent was silently observing in an opulent suite. The interviews, the outcry, and the mention of his name were enough to get his attention. Then 50 Cent made his move just as the crowd thought he would disregard the mayhem. Using his trademark passive-aggressive approach and peppered with subtle barbs, a mysterious video surfaced on his Instagram. The statement was rapidly taken up by fans. This post wasn't made at random. It never mentioned Aries Spears by name, but it was pointed straight at him. The most planned way to declare someone delusional is with just 50. The true query, though, is why 50 Cent became engaged in the first place. He's working on several fronts after all, completing entertainment deals, marketing liquor brands, managing well-known TV franchises like Power and BMF, and going on tour all over the world. He has a full schedule. What, then, made this specific circumstance worthy of being addressed? Many people fail to see that 50 Cent and Ice Cube have a lengthy history of respecting one another. Ice Cube openly backed his move from music to film, long before mainstream Hollywood recognized his achievements in television and movies. They remembered that regard. In interviews and business talks, 50 has continuously recognized Cub's impact throughout the years. Spears' Aries symbolizes the kind of public figure that 50 Cent has traditionally opposed. Noisy, combative, and frequently out of step with the prevailing cultural trend. 50's most incisive comments come from that exact lane, so it wasn't just light shade when he did answer. It was lyrical, direct, and purposeful. "Check my temperature," he said. "I'm freezing. The left half of my chest froze due to the hood. Do you need assistance paying your bills? I'll write a recommendation for you. You may even receive a contract for love." Aries Spears seemed to take offense when the post struck its target. He went into a furious tirade almost instantly. This time, it's the whole situation, not just Ice Cube. The story was far from over, and it was obvious that the heat was wearing him down. It didn't end there either. Aries Spears was obviously affected by Ice Cube's remarks. The response touched a nerve, and he continued to press forward rather than retreat. After then, things only became more complicated, particularly when Aries Spears contradicted himself in the middle of the conversation. He asserted in a single sentence that he respected Ice Cube as a man. However, in the very next, Cube had never accomplished anything noteworthy. He said in one statement, "Not in acting, not in music, nothing." It wasn't considered a scathing remark. People thought it was contradictory, and for that very reason, the response on the internet grew more intense. He wasn't singled out by his detractors for holding a contentious viewpoint. When the criticism came full circle, it centered on how he changed his mind and then attempted to play the victim. A viewer said, "You can't throw a hot take out there and get upset when the response is just as direct. You're entitled to your opinion, but you're not valid after that skit," said another. Ice Cube is manufactured. The remark, however, struck Spears in the most painful spot. A flashback to a troubled period in his history. All of a sudden, this was more than simply verbal fighting with legendary hip-hop artists. The topic of discussion shifted to the 2022 litigation between Aries Spears and Tiffany Haddish. In a troubling court case involving grooming claims, the two were the subject of serious accusations. A comedic sketch that many people felt was extremely inappropriate was at the heart of the dispute. In the spoof, Spears plays an odd adult character who is left alone with a child. The unpleasant tone and lingering concentration of the camera made viewers uneasy and provoked rapid criticism. But regrettably for Aries Spears, things didn't end there. As more individuals began to revisit that incident in light of his recent public actions, it just grew worse. The reaction was swift and extensive. Outrage ensued on Twitter, and the video was even shared on websites like The Shade Room. It wasn't good. The stain on Aries Spears' name never really went away, even after the lawsuit was ultimately resolved and the video was taken down from the internet. What did Aries do after that? He went back to Vlad TV. Viewers soon observed that Aries Spears was making more appearances on Vlad TV than Vlad himself, complaining about the industry, expressing his annoyance at being blackballed, and claiming that he should have the same level of success as comedians like Kevin Hart. It started to happen frequently. The cycle started to repeat in the eyes of the fans. He was not so much acting as he was talking. He wasn't getting huge parts or new stand-up material in comedy circles. Rather, he became well known through drama, contentious interviews, industrial tirades, and repackaging of historical events for the media. The story changed. Spears was no longer seen as an active talent, but more as being connected to feuds, criticisms, and bringing up old issues again to stay in the public eye. But that's not the whole tale. Several of his previous co-stars have publicly characterized him as challenging to collaborate with, pointing to ego conflicts, persistent one-upmanship, and a stressful work atmosphere. According to reports, there was a culture where rivalry frequently took the place of cooperation. He's unquestionably talented. He can read a crowd and has keen impressions. Aries Spears never achieved the industry-defining moment that so many of his contemporaries did. However, in spite of those skills, he never received that career-altering signature. Unique, the sort that solidifies a legacy. And dissatisfaction increases when such a chance never materializes. Over time, that annoyance may develop into resentment. Let's change the perspective now. Why did Aries Spears suffer so much as a result of this public feud? The solution is straightforward. A cultural pillar is being targeted when someone targets Ice Cube. Let's examine why that is so important in more detail. One of the top 3 diss tunes in hip-hop history is still No Vaseline, highly acclaimed for its impact, lyricism, and unvarnished performance. Friday turned into more. Not merely a comedy. It created iconic characters, influenced a whole generation of black film, and established a standard for comedy that speaks to the culture. Subsequently, Ice Cube established the Big Three League, a full-fledged professional basketball league that began as a niche idea but developed into a nationally recognizable brand backed by prominent investors and former NBA players. Ice Cube had already established himself as one of the most prolific ghostwriters in West Coast rap history before all of this. While still in his teens, he wrote verses for artists such as Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, MC Ren, and others, which helped to establish the roots of West Coast hip-hop and NUA. Meanwhile, Aries Spears' most famous professional moments are sporadic stand-up and crazy TV impersonations. Appearances and are gaining popularity for provoking controversy instead of humor. His influence on culture is insignificant. The outcry was swift and cohesive when he decided to target someone like Ice Cube. The public overwhelmingly supported Ice Cube because of this. The last twist then appeared. A teaser cast list for the eagerly awaited final Friday episode was released by Ice Cube. The name of Aries Spears was conspicuously missing. The timing left little doubt, but no official statement verified whether he was ever considered. Fans surmised that Cub was subtly shutting the door, stating that regardless of how many sounds Aries can imitate, his name will not appear on the cast list where legacy is most important. Ultimately, Aries Spears received the attention he desired, but there was a price for it. His current popularity isn't due to his humor or skill, but rather to the fact that two legends rejected him and no one stood up for him. Please share your opinions in the space provided for comments below. Was this a miscalculated move from the beginning, or should Aries Spears have played it differently? Please remember to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel if you like this breakdown. It greatly aids us in continuing to provide material. Thank you for viewing, and be sure to see the next